Hi Lila, I'm Alexandra.
When did you decide that you wanted to become a doctor?
I always knew that I wanted to care for people, but I didn't necessarily know that I wanted to be a doctor straight away. But I unfortunately ended up in hospital for a year and a half when I was 16. And it was then when I was stuck in the bed and I kind of got to see who the good doctors were and who the bad doctors were. And it made me realise that I had empathy for patients. So there's sympathy, so you feel sorry for someone, but then there's empathy where you personally experience what someone else is going through. And I can just remember these doctors just never telling me what was going on. But there was this one doctor who came back and she said the three most important words: "Are you okay?" And of course I wasn't, and I burst into tears and I said, "No, I don't know what's going on." And she lifted up her blouse and she showed me a really big scar along her ribs and she said, "I know how you feel." So she knew what I was going through. And I think it was definitely then that I thought, you know what? I can do this for my future patients as well.
What type of doctor do you want to be?
Something that I would like to specialise in is something called palliative medicine. It's about treating people who won't necessarily be cured by surgery and drugs, but it's just more of a condition that can be managed.
So can you tell me about your disability?
So with my vision, I'm 3 out of 60 in my left eye and I've got nothing in my right eye. And I can only see centrally, so I can't see on the side. So if you put your finger up here, I wouldn't be able to see it until there. And with my hearing, when I take my hearing aids out, I am completely deaf. And I also have an invisible disability which affects my muscles. People don't necessarily realise that I have that because it's something that you can't see. So when you see blind people about, you might see them either use a white stick or they might have a guide dog. In my case, I walk quite quickly and I'm quite independent, so this is absolutely fine for me. Essentially, I use this ball and I roll it along the ground, and so I get some information by feeling. And actually it's weird because even though I can see some stuff in the daytime, I am completely blind at night. I actually walk quicker in the dark because I totally rely on just the feeling I'm getting from the ball. But I essentially just roll it along like this, and then when I hit the step, I know that I might be walking into a wall.
Yeah.
So I put it up, and then I know how high I need to step up, but it's my lifeline, and it's great because I use it wherever I go.
How did your patients react when they found out that you're blind and deaf?
My patients, they either treat me like any other medical student or doctor and just let me get on with it. But some people are really curious, and I like curious because that's the only way you get to find out about people, by asking questions.
What's been your favourite part of your training?
My favourite part of medicine has definitely got to be the people. If you can go home after a long day at work and just say, I was able to help that patient, not necessarily saving a life, but I was able to get that patient a cup of tea, or I was able to sit down with that patient and cheer them up and stop them crying. That is the best feeling ever.
And what are some of the biggest challenges you've come across?
Because I am the first deaf-blind medical student here in the UK, it's more about the ignorances of people around me, and it's all about trying to educate them and say, well, look, I might not be able to do this so well, but I can do that much better than anybody else. I know that I'm paving the way for other people who might have another kind of disability. Disability is a superpower. Your strengths and your weaknesses are superpowers, so you have to use them. We all have strengths and weaknesses, and we can all do things.
Has there been any time that you've thought, oh, maybe I can't do this?
Many times, and actually I think everyone who goes through medicine experiences that. I actually remember on my first day of placement, the doctor said some quite nasty words to me, and I was really quite upset and lost. But then I kind of had a little think and I thought, do you know what? Even though that doctor said that stuff to me, I know that I have a lot of things to offer other people don't necessarily have. Some of the biggest things around you are the things that you can't see, and that's people's feelings, that's people's emotions, people's life stories beyond, you know, the bed and beyond the disease. So this is a normal stethoscope. You put it into your ears and then I can listen to your heart like that. But of course, I can't take my hearing aids out because when I do, I can't hear anything. So I have a special alternative. This is just the same as that, but without anything to plug in. So do you mind if I have a listen to your heart? Just make sure it's beating. Have you got a heart in there? Take a deep breath in off me. There we go, all working perfectly fine.
Do you think that school really encouraged you to become a doctor?
I did have a really good piece of advice from my school principal. It is better to try and fail than fail to try. Because if you never try in the first place, you'll never know.
Who's been the most supportive person of your aspirations to become a doctor?
My family have always been the ones to say, go and achieve your dreams. You may come across some hurdles and obstacles in your life, but if you want to be something, you can do it.
If you had any advice to people who would like to train as a doctor, what would you say to them?
You have to be absolutely passionate about it because it is a really long journey, but that journey is so worth it. Actually, in my situation, my personal bit of advice would be, don't necessarily take no for an answer. And I think as you're growing up, so many people who are maybe a little bit older than you say, oh, well, I know more than you and I know what you should and shouldn't do. If you have a feeling inside to say, do you know what, I think I can do this, then you've got to go for it. There is nothing more amazing feeling than reaching for the stars and reaching for your dreams.